Hi guys, good day to everyone. This is Sir Duane, and I am here to discuss to you the procedures and ways on how we can possibly make our research instruments, which would be subject for validation and pretesting. Take note that we cannot proceed on the retesting process and validation, not unless we are already done in making our research instrument. So without any further ado, let me share my screen to everyone. Okay, there you go. So before we proceed on discussing the different type of research instruments that we can use based on our methodology and statement of the problem as well as objectives, let us first talk about the different origins of research instrument. Why? It is important for us to know the origin of research instrument para at least kahit papaano mabawasan yung burden na pwede nating ma-experience in making our research instrument because we have different type of research instrument na pwedeng kuhanin na lang sa internet as long as that it is readily available and merong approval ng mga uh, researchers ng instrument na yon. Okay? So technically, we have here 8 basic origin of research instrument. The first one is the adopted with O. Then the second one is adopted with A. Then we have the self-constructed instruments. We also have here translated instrument, then derived instrument. Sixth is pre-existing instrument. Seven is existing but modified for new context instrument. And lastly is yung tinatawag natin na consensus-based instrument. Technically, hindi lahat ng 8 ito ay pag-uusapan natin. We will only focus on the 4 basic types of research instrument na ginagamit ng mga researchers on their research paper. Okay po. And then yung natitirang 4, that is for your reference only. And then ito namang ating module is readily available sa ating Google Drive. So you may have the copy and access of our module. Okay po. So let's now talk about the first type or first origin of research instrument, which is yung tinatawag natin na adopted instrument, adopted with O. Okay, ano yung ibig sabihin ng adopted research instrument? Technically, pag sinabi nating adopted, ito yung process kung saan nagtitingin tayo sa internet at sa iba't ibang mga websites ng mga readily made and validated research instrument na ginamit na ng mga previous researchers. And then what we are going to do is that if the contents of this research instrument are aligning with the intention, with the purpose of the researchers, they may adopt this instrument and use on their paper. As long as that the researchers of this instrument gave consent to the future researchers. Okay po? Or kung wala man kayong, wala mang nilagay na message yung researchers na pwede siyang gamitin ng mga researchers, you may send a personal email on that particular researcher and ask him or her regarding the access to the research instrument. Take note, it is very important that we ask consent dun sa mga original authors and researchers ng mga instrument na yun because that is part of research ethics. And at the same time, baka ba merong part yung instrument na yun na medyo technical and only these researchers have the knowledge on how to do that. So we could ask them paano nila ginawa yun. So try to imagine if you do not have access with that instrument, manghuhula ka na lang ng gagawin mo. So that's the adopted research instrument. Okay, so we have here the example, the advantages and disadvantages of the adopted instrument. Take note, when we say adopted instrument, it is a kind of readily made readily made available research instrument na pwede natin kuhanin sa internet as long as that we have the consent from the original researchers of that particular instrument, and as long as that the contents of these instruments are aligning with our objectives as well as with the methodology and statement of the problem that we have. Okay? Then second one naman is yung tinatawag natin na adopted instrument. Adopted with A. Ano yung pinagkaiba ng dalawa? Ah, meron silang similarities dun sa mga preliminaries. Pag sabi natin preliminaries, yung mga naunang step. Magtitingin ka sa internet ng readily made available na instrument. Then after that, i-check mo kung yung content ba ng instrument na yun is aligning with your objectives and intentions, as well as with the methodology and statement of the problem. And then you will try to see if meron ba siyang permission to access coming from the original researchers. Kung wala, you send them an email asking for the access of that particular instrument. And then once that you're able to do all those steps, papasok doon yung difference ng dalawa. Pag sinabi nating adapted, ito yung process kung saan meron tayong certain part ng instrument na yon na minomodify based on the nature of our, for example, participants. Meron doong mga term na medyo highfalutin or unfamiliar. Hindi kasi nung mauunawaan yon ng ating mga participants since ito ay inadapt natin coming from other country. So you may change that particular term with a word having the same equivalent. No, yung same lang sila ng ibig sabihin. So that's adapted. We will try to do some modification on that research instrument. Babaguhin natin ng very, very light that will suit on the needs of our research and at the same time on the nature of our research. Particularly, yung ating mga participants and respondents of the study. Okay po. So, ano yung kagandahan naman kapag adapted yung instrument, adapted with A? Una, nagiging madali na lang sa atin yung procedure ng pag-iisip ng mga indicators and questions na ilalagay natin sa paper natin. The same time, it is uh, pre-validated. So pag sabi natin pre-validated, na-validate na to doon sa previous research, kailangan lang nating maipa-check ulit sa isa pang validator para ma-confirm kung yung bang mga pinalit natin na term ay akma doon sa old term na ginamit natin. And at the same time, yung reliability and validity ng instrument ay mas okay. Okay? Kasi nga, culturally adapted na yung bagong instrument dun sa ating mga respondents and participants of the study. Okay po. Now, let's now talk about the third one. Yung tinatawag natin na self-constructed instrument. Kailan naman ginagawa yung self-constructed instrument? In our case, ito yung kadalasan ginagamit ng mga estudyante natin. Kasi, hindi naman madaling humanap talaga ng instrument na babagay directly on your intentions, purpose, problem, and methodology. Napakaswerte mo na talagang tao kapag nakahanap ka ng instrument na aligning with your research paper. So kung wala kang makikita, dyan ngayon papasok yung tinatawag natin na self-constructed instrument. Ito yung process kung saan ikaw mismo yung magde-design or magagawa ng research instrument na nakaakma or naka-align sa objectives or sa statement of the problem na meron ka. Ang kagandahan ng self-constructed instrument is that lahat ng mga factors na pwedeng i-consider on the nature of your paper, mako-consider mo. For example, yung language, yung mga terms, yung sentence construction, yung culture, almost all the barriers na pwedeng maka-apekto on the success of the particular data gathering, mako-consider mo kapag ikaw mismo yung gumawa ng self-constructed instrument. Ang disadvantage lang nito is that uh, time-consuming kasi you will spend a lot of time for you to come up with a good research instrument. Then secondly is that medyo magastos kapag self-constructed instrument because you have to find validators that will check the validity of your research instrument. Then after that, magpe-pretesting ka pa for you to see the reliability of the result of the data. And that is self-constructed instrument. Okay po. Ito yung usually ginagamit ng ating mga students. Okay? Now, yung pang-apat naman is yung tinatawag natin na translated instrument. Ito naman yung process kung saan from original language nung researchers na gumamit ng instrument na yon, tinatranslate natin siya into our own language. Ito kadalasan ginagamit ng mga nasa field of education, Filipino major. Humahanap sila ng mga possible na literature na pwede nilang pagkuhanan ng mga indicators na gagamitin sa kanilang instrument o di kaya naman maghahanap sila ng instrument na readily made available sa internet, then ito-translate nila yun into Tagalog. No? For us to consider yung differences when it comes to language. So yan yung 4 types of research instrument na ginagamit usually ng mga researchers natin. We have the adapted with O, adapted with A, we have the self-constructed, and we have the translated instrument. Okay po. And then, aside from these 4, meron pang ibang 4 na natitirang research instrument na pwede natin gamitin in our research paper. Okay po. So, it's up to you na to decide which of these 8 type of instrument ang magiging origin ng instrument na gagamitin mo on your paper. Halimbawa, nakapag-decide ka na, ang gagamitin kong research instrument sa paper ko ay self-constructed instrument. Kasi gusto ko may personal touch ko as researcher yung aking instrument na gagamitin. Ang sunod mong kailangang pag-isipan is that anong type of instrument ang babagay ngayon sa yung statement of the problem. So, diyan ngayon papasok yung second discussion natin, second part of our module, which is the type of research instrument. No? Nakapag-decide ka na ang gagawin mo ay self-constructed instrument. After that, ang sunod mo namang gagawin is that what particular type of research instrument? Ikaw ba ay gagamit ng survey questionnaire? Gagamit ka ba ng scale and indexes? Gagamit ka ba ng interviews? Ikaw ba ay mag-observe? O di kaya naman ikaw ba ay magko-conduct ng tests and assessment? Or ikaw ba ay magko-conduct ng focus group discussion? Or mag-a-analyze ka lang ng mga document, no? Mga content sa document, no? Or magtitingin ka ng mga diaries and journals ng mga participants na bahagi ng iyong pag-aaral. Okay po? So it's your choice. But technically, my dear researchers, meron tayong ilang mga considerations na kailangan nating tandaan when deciding what type of research instrument you will be using on your paper. Number 1 is that, ano ba yung objectives ng pag-aaral ko? Am I geared towards gathering numerical data? No? Ang aking bang research paper ay nakadesign para manguha ng mga numerical data? Or does my paper is designed in gathering perception coming from my participants? Or ayoko na may participants, gusto ko mga document lang yung kaharap ko. So it's up to you to decide. Okay? And then at the same time, kailangan mo din i-consider yung methodology na gagamitin mo sa paper mo. Baka naman ikaw ay experimental, tapos ang pinili mong instrument ay Likert scale lang. So that's not enough. Dapat meron ka dyang test and assessment kung ikaw ay experimental. So you have to consider then yung methodology na gagamitin mo sa paper mo. Baka naman ang methodology mo ay qualitative, tapos bigla kang magko-conduct ng bigla kang pipili ng scale and indexes. Hindi pwedeng ganun kasi that is for the generation of numerical data. Then at the same time, last consideration is that kailangan mo ding tingnan yung uh, statement of the problem. No? Yung set or yung line up ng statement of the problem na meron ka sa paper mo. Okay po. So ngayon, let's talk about the different types of research instrument na pwede ninyong pamilian on your paper. Okay? Let's begin with survey questionnaire. Ito dito laging nagkakamali, karamihan ng mga researchers natin ngayon. Lagi nilang uh, ina-affiliate ang survey questionnaire sa Likert scale, which is no. Likert scale can only be part of survey questionnaire. But survey questionnaire cannot be plainly Likert scale. Anong ibig sabihin noon? Kasi pag sinabi nating survey questionnaire, it is a type of research instrument that composed of several sections. Halimbawa, aalamin mo yung demographic profile ng respondents. Ganon. Di ba merong ganong type of research instrument na merong munang profiling ng mga respondents. Then after that, that's section 1. Ang section 2 naman ay aalamin mo yung kanilang level of agreement. So pag inalam mo yung level of agreement, Likert scale naman yon. So the second part. Yan yung sinasabi ko sa inyo, that Likert scale can only be part of survey questionnaire. No? And then ang third part naman ay multiple choice. So yun yung tinatawag natin na survey questionnaire. It is a combination of different type of questions embedded in one instrument na ang purpose ay makapag-gather ng iba't ibang information coming from your respondents on a particular topic. Okay po. So, sabi nga dito, survey questionnaire can include close-ended question, pwedeng ito yung multiple choice na ABCD lang, or pwede itong open-ended questions na if others, please specify. Okay? Kung na-encounter niyo yung mga ganung type of research instrument. Okay? So, yun yung tinatawag natin na survey questionnaire. Pag sinabi naman nating scales and indexes, dito ngayon nagpo-fall yung commonly used type of research instrument, which is the Likert scale. Likert scale is a type of research instrument that composed of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. O kaya naman ay 4, 3, 2, 1. Na ang ibig sabihin noon ay level of attitude or level of agreement or skill ng mga respondents towards the given indicator. Halimbawa, I am satisfied with the service provided by the guidance office. Strongly agree, agree, neutral, disagree, strongly disagree. So that's what we call indexes. Another example, from 7 to 10, from 1 to 10, how happy you are? 7. That's scale. Okay po. So yun yung tinatawag natin na scales and indexes. Okay? Na pwedeng maging part lamang ng survey questionnaire. Later on, I will be showing you a sample of that. Then, usually, itong survey questionnaire and scale or indexes or Likert scale, ginagamit to for the quantitative type of research instrument. Then the third one is interview. Ito naman, this is the commonly used type of research instrument under ng qualitative. Okay? Ang purpose ng interview is makagather ng perceptions or opinions coming from your participants of the study. Usually, it is categorized into 3 types. The structured, kung saan prepared lahat yung questions. We have the semi-structured questions, kung saan prepared yung questions, but you may ask additional questions in case that your participants failed to answer your question. Then unstructured, wala kang preparation. Kumbaga, at the back of your mind, alam mo lang yung topic, alam mo lang yung SOP mo, and then randomly, doon ka na lang magtatanong sa participants mo during the time of the interview. Doon ka na lang mag-iisip ng questions na itatanong sa participants during the interview. Okay po? So these are the three types of interviews. We have the structured, you have the prepared questions. Kung ano lang yung pinirepare mong questions, yun lang yung itatanong. Okay? We have the semi-structured questions kung saan you have the prepared questions and then at the time that your participants fail to answer your questions, you may ask follow-up questions or you may ask clarificatory questions. Third is the unstructured. You do not have preparation. You do not have prepared questions. Basta alam mo lang yung SOP sa yung title and then during the interview, doon ka na lang mag-iisip ng mga questions na pwede mong itanong. Okay po? And then observations, ito usually ginagamit ito in the field of sciences and humanities, no? So, we have I think four types of observations. Yeah, we have the participants. Pag sabi nating participants, you are part of the settings. Nandun ka mismo sa grupo na inoobserbahan mo. You are one of them. You are joining with them. You are living with them. Pag sinabi naman natin non-participant observation, ito yung process kung saan you are observing, no, you are observing in a proximics. Pag sinabi natin in a proximics, may certain distance. Maaaring hindi sila aware na inoobserbahan mo sila. Maaaring nasa labas ka lang ng classroom or nasa labas ka lang ng opisina or nagpapanggap ka bilang isang kliyente, non-participant observation. Yon. Pag sabi naman nating structured observation, ito yung before you conduct the observation, you already have the set of plan na gagawin mo. Ito yung mga titingnan ko. You have the checklist. No? Pag kasi participant and non-participant, nagno-note ka nagda-diary ka kung ano yung mga nakikita mo. Doon ka lang nag-i-start mag-diary based dun sa observation mo. Pag sinabing structured, meron ka ng checklist kung ano yung mga titingnan mo or kung ano yung mga dapat mong makita. Okay, then note down mo na lang ano yung mga hindi mo nakita. Then pag unstructured, ay di yun nga, mag-emerge ka na lang doon sa settings without any preparation. Okay po. And then, additionally, we have as well the test and assessment. Usually, ito ay ginagamit kapag ang purpose ng study ay experimental or correlational. Kasi gusto nating malaman kung meron bang changes or meron bang significant difference or meron bang significant relationship. For example, merong panibagong uh, advertised na gamot para sa cancer. So, hanap ka ng mga pwedeng maging part ng controlled and experimental group. Then i-assess mo kung meron nga bang improvement doon sa mga cancer patient natin. Ano pa? Merong panibagong design na teaching methodology. So, hahanap ka ng mga bata na pwedeng mag-participate sa group na to at sino yung mga bata magpa-participate sa group na to. Okay? O di kaya naman meron ka na-discover na panibagong marketing plan or strategy. So, ganon. Magbibigay ka muna ng assessment. Bibigyan mo muna sila ng assessment for you to have the gauge. No? Mag-gauge mo kung hanggang saan ba yung kanila pre and then you compare it with the data on the post-tests. Okay? And then lastly is yung tinatawag natin na focus group discussion. Usually ginagamit ito in a qualitative type of research na kung saan you will gather a small group of people and then you will ask same question with them. You will ask same question to all of the members of that particular group and then you will let them share their answers on that particular question. Ang pinagkaiba ng focus group discussion sa interview is that sa interview, one-on-one mo siyang gagawin. No, halimbawa nakita mo yung isang participant mo na nasa office, interviewin mo siya. Pag sabing focus group discussion, ito yung process kung saan yung interview nangyayari siya ng sabay-sabay in one place. Halimbawa, meron kang 5 participants. So interviewin mo sila ng sabay-sabay. You will let them share their answers. No? Ang kagandahan noon, pag focus group discussion, ito yung pinakagusto ko sa focus group discussion, nagkakaroon sila ng sharing. Nagkakaroon ng confirmation of experiences. No? Unlike ng interview, walang verification. Mabe-verify mo pa lamang yung data doon susunod mong i-interviewin. Pero kapag focus group discussion, automatic nagkakaroon sila ng approval of agreement. Halimbawa, sinabi ng isang participant na simula nung ginamit ko yung drugs na yan para sa cancer, medyo naging magana akong kumain. Then, sisegundahan agad ng isang participant. At tama ka, ganun din yung nararamdaman ko nung tinik ko yan, di ba? Meron agad confirmation sa kanilang sagot. So, that's the beauty of focus group discussion. Ito naman, document content analysis, usually ito ay ginagamit kung ayaw mo ng may participants sa study mo. Kumbaga, you design your paper in such a way that the purpose of it is just to make a systematic analysis of data or documents. Ito ginagamit ko to minsan kapag gusto ko mag-analyze ng mga literature. So, content analysis or document analysis yung ginagawa doon. For the purpose of analyzing the pattern, kung may pagkakatulad-tulad ba or wala. O di kaya naman mga documentaries, mga documentaries ni Cara David, pwede niyong gawan ng research yun. And then diaries naman and journals, ito naman is kapag merong na-keep kang record coming from your participants and respondents of the study. Ito, hindi ito masyadong ginagamit. Pero pwede nyo itong i-take into consideration kapag merong naiwang diaries and journals ang inyong mga participants. Ngayon, meron lang ako ilang mga paalala, no? When you are about to make your research instrument, since maliwanag na naman sa atin kung ano yung pwede nating maging origin ng paper natin or ng ating instrument. Pwede siyang adapted, self-constructed, and then translated. And then alam na din natin yung iba't ibang mga research instruments na pwede natin gamitin sa paper natin depending on the origin. Ngayon, I just have some few reminders when you started doing or constructing your research instrument. Ano-ano yon? Uh, Number one is that when you make your research instrument, please make sure that you will avoid an indicator that is double-barreled. Pag sinabi nating double-barreled research instrument, ito yung focus, ito yung process kung saan sa isang question, dalawa yung variable. Halimbawa, I became motivated and interested to learn. Iba kasi yung konteksto ng motivated at interested. Two-barreled na yun. Pwede mo silang paghiwalayin in two separate construction. Halimbawa, I became motivated to learn. I became interested to learn. So, meron ka ng dalawang indicators. Ano pa? Halimbawa, the new strategies increases the productivity level and job satisfaction of the employee. Iwasan nyo din yung mga ganong questions kasi that is double-barreled question. Bakit? Pinagsama mo yung magkaibang indicators, yung level of productivity at yung satisfaction na pwede na silang magkahiwalay na indicators. Ano pa yung reminder ng Sir Giovanni when you make your research instrument? Iwasan ninyo yung mga research instrument na sobrang haba, napaka-complex, na parang paragraph na siya. Take note, indicators should be simple and precise. It should be direct to the point. Walang paligoy-ligoy kapag gumagawa tayo ng research instrument. Ano pa? Iwasan din natin yung too confusing lineup of indicators. Ano pag sinabi natin too confusing lineup of indicators? Yung bang sa isang table, merong positive, merong negative. Kung gusto mong positive, positive lahat ng indicators. Kung gusto mong negative, negative lahat ang indicators. Okay po. Ano pa? Mas maganda sana kung uniform yung construction ng sentence. Halimbawa, if you start with pronoun na halimbawa, our team become motivated. Mas maganda siguro kung lahat ng sentences or indicators will start with that. Our team become motivated to learn. Our team become interested to learn. Parang ganon. So, meron ngayong uniformity when it comes to the sentence constructions and pattern of our indicators. Ano pa? Iwasan yung sobrang daming indicators. Take note, aminin natin or hindi, abala sa mga respondents natin ang pagsasagot ng instrument. Inambush lang natin ang mga yan kadalasan. So since ambush interview lamang ito, make it sure na hindi ito magkukonsume ng mahabang oras kapag sinagutan nila. Okay po. So those are some of the reminders that I have when you constructed your research instrument. Some of them will be discussed on the example that we have. So allow me to share now the sample instrument. Okay. This is an example of research instrument. I took this example from the work of my students. Validated na to, kaya kung mapapansin ninyo ay meron pa siyang mga notes. So itong sample na to, ito yung sinasabi ko sa inyong example ng survey questionnaire. Kaya nakalagay dito survey questionnaire kasi it is a combination of different types of questions. Meron ditong checklist, no? Aside from checklist, meron itong Likert scale. Questionnaire yan. Okay po. Pero kung wala sana itong checklist, after sana nito ay itong table na agad, Likert scale ito or scale itong matatawag. Okay, pero dahil may combination ito of different types of instrument, survey questionnaire po ang tawag dito. And then ito pa, additional sample. Ito naman yung format ng semi-structured interview. I always encourage my students to put English translation and Tagalog translation on their semi-structured interview guide. Kasi we all know that not all of our participants are good to the second language, which is English. So you may put there a Tagalog translation of your questions. Later on, I will discuss that one by one. And then I also have here another sample of instrument. Ito naman yung tinatawag natin na Likert scale. Kasi plainly, ano lang to, level of agreement. Attitudes lang yung inaalam dito. Okay po. So ngayon, tingnan natin yung sinasabi ko sa inyong do's and don'ts when you constructed your instrument. So the first thing that you have to do is that, ito merong highlight na blue kung di ako nagkakamali. Nagkaroon to ng overlapping of choices. Parang ang nangyari dito, 1 year to 3 years, tapos 3 years to 6 years. So, halimbawa ako, participant ako, nasa 3 years in service na ako, ano checkan ko dito, yung pangalawa or yung una? So, para maiwasan natin yung tinatawag na overlapping of indicators, kailangan magkaroon din tayo ng proper cutting. 1 to 3 years, and then 4 to 6 years, and then 7 and above. Okay? So, that's additional reminder. Another one is that may note pa dito yung kanilang validators na please kindly confirm the type of resort to the tourism office of the municipality. Kasi itong binigay na type of resort ng ating mga participant, ng ating mga researcher, should I say, galing lang to sa kanilang RRL. Paano biglang meron palang iba pang type of resort? Meron yung municipality na yon based dun sa record ng kanilang munisipyo. So, ano na yon, mababaliwala or mawawala na yon. So, for us to have the assurance kung ano-ano yung type of resort, naglagay ngayon dito ng comment ang kanilang validators na paki-confirm kung ito lang ba talaga yung type of resort na meron sa municipality na yon. Or para mas safe, pwede kayong maglagay dito ng isa pa, um, if others, please specify, then line na lang. No? Open-ended naman ang tawag doon. Ito kasi puro close-ended eh. Okay? So ganun siya. No? And then dito naman, pagdating sa indicators, no, it's very important that your directions are clear. No? Para saan ba yung table na yan? Okay? Para saan ba yung 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 na yan? Ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng 5? Ano yung ibig sabihin ng 1? Everything should be clear para maiwasan natin yung confusion among our participants. Halimbawa, 5 represent extremely aware. 4 represents moderately aware, and then 3 for somewhat aware, 2 for slightly aware, and 1 not aware. Okay? So, saan ang galing yan? Saan ang galing yung mga legend na yan? This legend should be taken from your chapter number 3. If I'm not mistaken, you have a section on your chapter number 3 na kung saan may table kayo doon, nakalagay yung verbal interpretation of responses. So kung ano yung nakalagay sa chapter 3 ninyo, yun din dapat yung ilalagay nyo dito. Okay po, huwag kayong nanguhula kung saan ninyo pinagkukuha yan. There should be an alignment kasi pag hindi siya nagkaroon ng alignment, magugulo ang readers, magugulo ang statistician, babagsak kayo sa defense. Okay po. Next, sa indicators naman, ito yung sinasabi ko sa inyo kanina that if possible, make your indicators simple. Yung sentence construction is simple and easy to understand. Halimbawa, Our staff is aware of the required safety protocols. Ano ba yung mga safety protocols na tinutukoy mo dyan? So, naglagay sila, for example, protocols para sa fire exit, first aid kits. So, at least knowledgeable kung anong safety protocols yung sinasabi mo. And then in the reception area. Simple, easy to understand. Next one, our staff understands the importance of proper training and customer service standards in the reception area. If you could observe, the first two indicators starts with, or the first two indicators start with our staff. There is a consistency. There is a parallelism when it comes to the construction of the indicators. Okay. And when it comes to the number of indicators na ilalagay ninyo, it depends on the institutional format that you have, or it depends on your school. Meron kasing mga school na nire-required nila na yung bilang ng indicators na ilalagay per SOP is more than 10. Meron naman at least 5. Meron naman 5 to 10. In our case, for example, in our school, 5 to 10 ang bilang ng indicators na pwedeng ilagay. Kasi ayaw namin pilitin ang mga bata na maglagay ng mga indicators. Kasi minsan, pag dami ng indicators, inuulit na lang ba? Nagkakaroon ngayon ng overlapping, nagkakaroon ngayon ng redundancy. Kaya pag in-interpret, yan, naglalabasan na ngayon sa interpretation na merong problema dun sa lineup ng mga indicators. So, for you to know the number of indicators that you will put in a specific table that you have, you ask your school. In our case, it's 5 to 10. No, at least 5 to 10. Kung meron mang mas madami, edi basta hindi nag-overlap yung mga indicators. Okay? And then, sir, ito ay self-constructed instrument kaya siya validate. Ano po yung pinagkuhanan ng mga bata, okay, ng mga indicators nila? Technically, kung ito ay self-constructed instrument, bago kayo magawa ng instrument, meron na kayong mga prior readings, di ba? Nagawa kayo ng chapter number 2. Ito ang kagandahan kapag ang RRL naka-align sa statement of the problem. Yung mga RRL na naka-align sa statement of the problem, pwede kayo ngayong pumick up ng mga statement coming from your RRL na pwede mong gamitin as indicators on your chapter 2. On your instrument. Ulitin ko ha, ang kagandahan ng ang ating research RRL ay naka-align sa ating statement of the problem is that kapag nagawa ka ng research instrument, yung mga indicators, pwedeng doon mo kuhanin. Meron kang inspiration. Okay? At ang kagandahan din na naka-align sa RRL, yung indicators natin, kapag pumunta tayo sa chapter 4, nag-interpret tayo ng data, meron na tayo ngayong possible citations na pwedeng magamit when we interpreted our data. Okay po. Unlike ng ikaw lang mismo yung naggawa, which is pwede naman, yung ikaw na lang mismo mag-iisip ng indicators. Kaso ang problema is that, what if yung nailagay mong indicators ay wala kang makitang citations and then hindi din siya mag-appear sa mga RRL. Yun, ang kagandahan noon naman, meron ka na-discover na bago, pero mahirap na trabaho yun. Okay po. So that's it. So dalawa yung pwede nating pagkuhanan ng indicators. It could be taken from your RRL or it could be kayo na mismo talaga yung magagawa based on your experiences, based on your pre-interview, kung kayo man ay nag-interview para lang magkaroon kayo ng idea, pwede siyang ganon. Okay po, so that's it. Yan. Ito naman is an example of semi-structured interview guide na pwede ninyong gamitin. I always encourage my students to have 3 sections on their semi-structured interview. They should have a brief introductory statement kung saan dinidiscuss nila yung objective ng study, yung consent, saka yung yung identity ng mga researchers, magpapakilala sila. Then the second part is yung mismong question and answer portion. Yan. And then the last part is yung closing. Siyempre naman, nag-spend ng oras yung mga tao na yan, magpasalamat ka naman sa kanila. Okay? And then when you make your instrument, for example, this is a semi-structured interview. It's up to you if you will directly ask the questions, these questions. This is a direct questions aligned with your statement of the problem, or you will ask the questions that you have under that questions. Kasi meron kaming tinatawag na follow-up questions ba or follow-up questions. So, pwedeng ganun, no? Ang kagandahan na meron tayong follow-up questions, in case that our readers or our participants failed to answer our questions, we could ask them the follow-up question. Halimbawa, dito, um, Ma'am, to be more specific, on the reception area, paano niyo po inilalarawan ang kasalukuyang estado nito? And then, alin po sa mga pamantayan ng DOT ang alam ninyong para sa reception area? So, meron ngayong confirmation in case lang na hindi masagot yung ating main questions. So, that's for the interview. Okay po. And then, for our uh, additional example naman, ito, additional question, ito na may Tagalog, no? Ito ay uh, kung di ako nagkakamali ay self-constructed instrument din, kaya siya vinalidate. Pero yung mga indicators, kinuha nila sa kanilang RRL. Tinranslate lang siya into Tagalog. Okay po, so yan. They have here the pagbati, the panuto, and then the indicators. Okay po, so sir, question. How many tables should we put on our statement of the problem or in our research instrument? It depends on your SOP. Halimbawa, meron kang 5 SOP. Tapos yung SOP number 1 is for demographic profile. Tapos yung SOP number 5 is para sa plan of action. Technically, tingnan mo na lang yung SOP number 2, SOP number 3, and SOP number 4. Baka naman kasi yung SOP number 2, SOP number 3, SOP number 4 is hindi nangangailangan ng table. 3 tables lang yung gagawin. Ang SOP number 1, which is the demographic profile, pwede siyang yung katulad kanina na checklist. Tapos yung SOP number 5, plan of action, hindi mo naman itatanong kasi sa mga respondents mo kung anong plan of action ang gagawin mo sa paper mo. Ikaw kasi yung gagawa nun based on the findings of the study. So if that's the case, you could have 3 tables for SOP 2, 3, and 4. And then, for the demographic profile, hindi kayo na yung magawa ng checklist ninyo. Another example, for instance, you have statement of the problem that talks about, is there any significant relationship? Halimbawa, this one. I will show you another example of that. Ito. Uh, ito. Ito yung SOP noong first research instrument na pinakita ko sa inyo kanina. This one. Ito. Ito yung kanilang SOP. So, technically, kaya kung mapapansin ninyo kanina, ay dito, sa sample natin ito. Wait lang ha. Stop share ko lang ulit kanina. Kaya kung mapapansin ninyo is that dito, isang table lang ang meron tayo, di ba? Ito. Isang table lang. Itong table lang na ito, yung part 2. But after that, wala nang ibang mga table. Isang buong table lang yan, no? Na marami lang siyang subpart kasi nga yung SOP nila merong iba't ibang subpart. Pero after that, wala nang sumunod. Bakit ganun, sir? Kasi tingnan niyo yung kanilang SOP. Ito yung kanilang SOP. Yung SOP number 1 kasi nila is for demographic profile. So what they did here, syempre hindi naman kailangan ng table for this. They just make a checklist for this SOP. Ito yung checklist na ginawa nila. This one. Ito yung checklist. Yan o. Part 1. Ito yung checklist na ginawa. And then, for SOP number 2, ito yung SOP number 2 nila. What is the level of awareness among the resort in terms of reception, public areas, bedroom, and bathrooms? Yan ang dahilan kung bakit mapapansin ninyo doon sa kanilang table, meron siyang 4 na subsection, di ba? Kasi yung kanilang SOP, meron ding 4 na subsection. Kaya dapat doon sa instrument na gagawin mo, mag-a-appear na meron din yung 4 na subsection. Section 1, Section 2, Section 3, Section 4. Pero halimbawa, hypothetical, nakafocus lamang sila sa reception area. Eh di obviously, ang kanilang table for this SOP, isang section lang yan. Nakafocus lamang yan sa reception area. No? Pero itong public areas, bedrooms, and bathrooms, mawawala na yan. Kasi nga ang nakalagay lang sa kanilang SOP ay reception area. Pero hindi naman ganun eh. Ang case nga nila is meron silang 4 subsections. And then, sir, ano nangyari sa SOP number 3? Ang SOP number 3 nila kasi, para makuha nila yung data for SOP number 3, magko-conduct sila ng interview. Kasi ang kanilang methodology ay mixed method. Okay po. So for them to answer SOP number 3, they conducted an interview. So this is the questions or these are the questions they asked during the interview. Sir, bakit ganun? Eh, ang dami-dami po ng kanilang interview guide questions. Ang tinatanong lang naman po sa SOP isa lang. Mga anak, when you conducted your interview, even though isang SOP lang naman ang tinatarget niyan sa paper ninyo, kung kaya ninyong makakuha ng maraming data coming from your participants that will help you to explain your data and will give you further knowledge about your research paper, gawin ninyo. Kasi magagamit niyo yun in the process of explaining the data. No, as support for your indicators. Katulad kanina, di ba, sa SOP number 2 natin, merong yung 4 subsections. Eh di kung ano yung magiging sagot ng participants dito sa interview na ginawa nila dito, pwede nila tong magamit as support or citations on their indicators kapag nag-explain na sila sa chapter 4. Pero technically, ah dito pa lang naman sa SOP number 2 masasagot or dito lang naman sa question number 2 masasagot yung kanilang SOP number 3 on their statement of the problem. No, pero hindi yan lang ang naging focus ng kanilang interview guide questions. Nagtanong pa sila ng ibang mga questions for them to have an in-depth knowledge about their participants of the study. Okay? And then, itong SOP number 4, sir, bakit po ganun? Ang SOP number 4, wala po siya sa part 1, ito yung ating part 1, wala po siya sa part 1, hindi po siya kasama dito sa mga checklist and Likert scale. Hindi rin po siya kasama sa interview. Saan po namin kukuhanin yung sagot for SOP number 4? Mga anak, meron tayong mga SOP na hindi minsan nangangailangan ng tables or hindi nangangailangan ng questions sa interview. For example, itong SOP number 4, is there a significant relationship between the profile of the resorts and their level of awareness? This is a type of SOP na hindi nangangailangan ng table. Bakit? Kasi yung data na gagamitin for SOP number 4 is kukuhanin sa SOP number 1 saka sa SOP number 2 which is the level of awareness. Since meron na tayong data for SOP number 1 at meron na tayong data for SOP number 2, nakapagawa na tayo ng questions for that, hindi na natin kailangang magtanong pa ng iba pang questions for that particular SOP. Kasi nga, provided na yung data doon sa mga nauna nating research instrument. And then, sir, bakit yung SOP number 5, wala din naman po siya sa Likert scale or dun sa part 1, wala din siya sa part 2? Kasi, ito ay trabaho ng researchers. Ikaw yung bahalang magtanong or ikaw yung bahalang mag-construct niyan based dun sa mga tanong na ginawa mo on your paper and based on the result of your study. Pero minsan may mga pagkakataon na pwede nyo siyang itanong during the interview. Para lang magkaroon kayo ng idea, katulad dito, matatalino yung mga researchers na to. Para magkaroon sila ng idea kung ano yung ilalagay nila sa kanilang framework, nagtanong sila sa kanilang mga participant. No, ano po yung pwede po nating i-suggest sa government para mapadali po yung pag-comply ninyo sa Department of Tourism requirement? So, based on the responses of the participants, pwede ngayon silang makagawa ng magandang DOT framework. That is kung interview. Pero kung hindi kayo interview, hindi siya possible. Ang magiging basis nyo lang talaga on that particular SOP is yung data ninyo coming from your previous SOPs. Okay po? So I hope and I pray that you do understand kung paano ginagawa ang ating mga research instrument. Thank you so much for listening and God bless everyone.